My name is Corey Burris, and I have the honor of working for the Georgia Center for Opportunity, where we live by the motto, not for self, but for others. Every day, I get to talk with people breaking through serving their communities. These are nonprofit leaders, local volunteers, and businesses. This is the Breakthrough Podcast. Dr. Beverly Roseberry is a professor and champion of relationship development. She joins me to discuss the need and value brought from teaching, identifying, and maintaining a healthy relationship in vulnerable communities. So, Beverly Roseberry, you have been working with the Healthy Family Initiative and worked with the GCO for quite some time now. Tell me a little bit about, first of all, why you started going down this path and what you've been doing with GCO.
When I originally made first contact with GCO was when I was the wellness coordinator for the Center for Black Women's Wellness. And we were, they had 4 core programs, a wellness program. They had an Atlanta Healthy Start Initiative, which addressed infant mortality. They had a women's economic sufficiency program. And around the time that we started, we also had what we called a safety net clinic, which provided both of the clinics provided services to people who were uninsured or underinsured in metropolitan Atlanta. The safety net managed chronic disease. That was really their focus.
Yeah.
And of course, the wellness was focused on wellness. And building relationships with community partners is always important. We can't do this work in a silo. So I was always out, looking at how we could work together, as my motto is work smarter, not harder. And so what can I bring? What can you bring? And then we both meet our objectives, which is healthy families. And so I'm not exactly sure how I ended up, the other thing is that there was another agency in the building that we work for, Center for Working Families. And they were very connected with you guys. And, we had a relationship, and they introduced me to the Healthy Family Initiatives and all of the things that came with that. And then that led me to Catherine.
That's great. So, you talked a little bit about how community coming together and needing more than there's not just one organization that does it all, right? We really do have to come together as a community. Right. We do have to come together and figure out all these things out. What was one of those, if you can remember, because I know it's been a long time that you've been working with us, but what was one of those kind of gaps that HFI was able to fill for you?
Training, like-mindedness in terms of, the holistic perspective of how you guys were providing your brand of care to the communities. And so we needed, as we provide services, we have patients and clients who need the things that you guys were offering. And you, because of your like-mindedness, that you had this mind, body, and spirit family, that the family was important, because Center for Black Women's Wellness was about, yes, I'm entering this relationship with you through the woman in the household, but I am also wanting to make sure that everyone in the family is well. And so it was seen that those programs and those things that you guys were doing along with in this Healthy Family Initiative spoke to what we were doing at the time and still do at the center, and I do in my own business.
Yeah. So what, can you walk me through a little bit of the communities that you reach, that you guys work with? What are the common problems that a lot of people are facing that you've been able to address?
Of course, we have more single head of households, primarily females. We have people who may or may not have had reached the educational attainment that could help them to be more successful. We had adolescent teen pregnancy, which we were trying to prevent. We were looking at financial stability for our families. And then through my work in the wellness clinic, there was many women who did not have emotional well-being, did not have self-esteem. They had self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
And then, it was just, there were people who were abused. So it was this plethora of things, I began to look at things like childhood adverse event that sometimes people never get to work through. They just keep it moving. But they were there affecting how they were now living their teenage, young adult, or even older adult lives.
Yeah. What was the catalyst that kind of drove you to get involved with all of this? Because clearly, I mean, this is not just, something you do in your pastime, and seems like something you're very invested in. What was the kind of your catalyst for that?
Because of my greatest desire is to see people live a holistic life. That's
Hmm.
how I live my life. That's how I teach. I want it for myself and I want it for others.
That's great. That's beautiful. So what class did you teach for HFI, and what have you been
I
doing
was
on that
trained
front?
in three, but the
Okay.
one that stuck was how to avoid falling for a jerk. I still do that now. But I feel like the jerk class addresses it all. You know what I mean? People would say to me, now I've taught this class from ages 10, doing some supposed to be fifth graders, up to age 88.
Wow.
And they always say, where were you? I needed, especially the older ones, I needed this before, and then,
Yeah.
to look at their choices and just the light bulb moments. It's such a gratifying uh, curriculum to teach because it's live and it's real and it touches people and it helps people to be made free of those things that have been holding them back, helping them to realize, because sometimes we don't even realize that this is what I'm holding on to. There's a place. I tell people that we get stuck in life at these events. There are events that happen in our life. We look at it as bullying, right? That people
Yeah.
get stuck because they keep living their life based on that moment when I guess was the most traumatic, when they were being bullied and they don't realize it. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that helps to bring that out. I remember doing it with this guy at a substance abuse program. Excuse me. And we were looking at it. He said for the first time that when he was a young child, his father was an alcoholic, and his father would bring him out in front of his friends when they were drinking and make fun of him and call him stupid and blah, blah, blah. So for him, he's been stupid his whole life and unable to do anything, which could be, I would say, is a part of why he's into substance abuse, to feel better. Okay. But just being able to speak that and acknowledge those kind of things are what happens when I teach the courses that you have trained me in and others that I have learned along the way.
Yeah. It
Mhm.
seems to me that, like, I mean, the how to avoid falling for a jerk and jerkette seems to be one of those kind of much needed classes that we offer for people. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that one resonates so much with people that are in the situations that the people that you work with are in?
Primarily because who teaches us, even the parenting, I do parent, I had something with parenting, but even with who teaches us how to be in relationship, we
Mm,
learn by what we see in our own families, amongst our friends. And so we're not always seeing the healthy relationships. And
right.
so it resonates because it helps them to kind of look at, wow, these were the things that it made me who I am in my own family, in
Yeah.
my own life. These are my journey included some things that made me make some choices and decisions that have brought me to the place that I am right now. And then it also teaches you how to make better choices. That's what life is all about. You have a choice. Where many people say you got the good voice and the bad voice on your shoulders, right? And you got to go this road or that road. But we need some tools, jerk classes and the basic conflict for the couples. All of that gives us some tools to work with.
Yeah.
Because my mother was a great mother. My I call her my second mom, was a great mother, but she wasn't perfect. And there were
Right.
some things that I feel like that all of them did that I wish they had done differently. And then there were some things that they did that I said I would never do that I'm doing. Right?
And
So,
yeah, and it seems like you're seeing generation after generation where it's not being modeled to them what
right,
it should look like, right?
right,
And
right.
so, um, do you have any? I mean, you've been doing this for many years now,
Mhm.
but have you noticed, has there been a worsening? Is it getting worse over time? Is there a need? Is there a greater need now than there was 10 years ago, or how has it changed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because of technology, it's even as a teacher, you see it that we're not connected. We're not the way that children were trained up and had some rules, some guidelines, some discipline. Some people could say they went overboard or they didn't, but studies show that we all need discipline, right? And that adolescents are going to act out to get discipline. You know what I mean? Right. They don't realize it, but because they, discipline. And I'm gonna go scriptural on you. I can't help it. That's who I am. But it makes me think about God said He loves who He loves. He disciplines, and so because we love our children, we discipline them, we train them up, and we want them to teach them the way, so that they can avoid. Number one, some of the pitfalls that I had in my own life, right?
Yeah.
And those that are just out there waiting. And so when I think about my mother teaching me about not having sex, she said, don't have sex. What did she say? Don't have sex. And then when I decided I was going to have sex and bought some pills, she said, don't get pregnant. So that was the gist of her teaching me about that. Yeah. Right? So that doesn't give me anything to work with.
Right.
And why didn't she do that? Because she didn't know how. She didn't know anything else to say but that. But what do I tell parents now? Tell them about your journey. Tell them about when your heart was broken. Tell them, give them some examples of the things that you don't want them to have to face. They're going to be heartbroken. But, when you learn how, right. Tell them how you're feeling. It's that. When you show me, when you just can't say not have sex, don't do drugs. Give me some reasons why. Yeah. And so, when we start, we look at that. Those are the things that need to be done. And that is happening even less than it was when I was growing up and through my trajectory. So that, social media is now how people get to know each other. And you can be anything on social media. Yeah. Steve Harvey says 90 days, but Jerk says, it says 90 days, but we know if you listen to everything and do all the training, you need more than 90 days. I could play a role for 90 days.
That's right? Great. That's a good stuff.
So that's why I tell people, I seen somebody do it for a year. They were what you wanted them to be for a year. And then as soon as you married them, switch right back.
Yeah.
So, it's a process. Yeah. And even if you do marry the jerk, it's not the end of the world if you have some tools to address, that for yourself and for the jerk that you may be living with right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people also don't, maybe even people, listening, don't understand how relationships play into our success as individuals, right? Like, it is such a vital piece of the equation that a lot of times we're like, oh, if you have a good job or if you have, good education, you're totally fine. But that's not actually true. I mean, you can have all of those other things, but if you don't have a strong relationship, you really are setting yourself up for failure.
Well, you have to know how to be in a relationship. Everything, I tell people that, you can try to push it off because you have a good job, but in your job, you have relationship with people. Yeah. Okay. And because of your relationship issues, you're going to have problems on your job. And if you really look at, we talk about stress or stressors of life. Well, they all relate with some relationship, okay? It could be your relationship with food, really. You know what I'm saying? For me, I got to watch what I eat, right? So, but it all involves a relationship. You have work relationships. You have familiar relationships. You have intimate, significant others. You have children. So all of those are relational. And if you don't know how to be in relationship, you're going to think it's the other person. We always blame the other person more than you blame yourself. But in my 30 years of being with my husband and 27 years married, every time I was complaining about him, this is just me, the Lord was telling me about myself and then showing me that I was doing something similar, but I did it differently. Yeah. Right? So relationships, you cannot get around, and being able to navigate a relationship is critical to your journey, to your life. And some of the things, not that it means that that's gonna make you have all great relationships. No, but it's gonna help you to learn how to deal with relationships, whether they are smooth sailing, difficult, or turbulent.
That's awesome. So this will be going out on a podcast, just so you know. So So one of the things I would like to end it with is how
Mhm.
people can get a hold of your organization. So can you share a little bit about how people can get a hold of your organization or the organizations you work with, if they are interested in being involved in anything that you are doing? How do they get a hold of you?
Okay. Of course, my name is Beverly Roseberry, and my website is healinginhiswings.com. My phone number is 770-584-1696. And for emailing me directly, mine is hihw@healinginhiswings.com.
And you're wrapping up a book right now, correct?
Yes, get ready to, I'm accepting pre-orders. The book should be in my
That's great.
hands on Wednesday.
And can they get that on your website or
Yes, they can. It's called
perfect?
Life in the Spirit.
That's beautiful.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
So,
Well, thank you.
thank you. And I, just want to end is that, things can be better when we know better.
Hmm.
And not to say that you haven't had a good upbringing, but, just always remember who taught your parents, who taught you. We're mad at our parents because they had some, but their parents may have taught them. The jerk talks about, well, maybe something else, but it's included in you can't give what you don't have. And if your parents didn't have affirmation because they were never affirmed, then it's going to be difficult for them to affirm you, right?
Yeah.
So that reminds me of the last class where the lady said, oh, wow, that's, she was able to forgive her mother in that moment when she realized that she didn't have it to give.
Hmm.
So, people may not love us in the way that we need them to, but we must learn how to love ourselves and accept ourselves and them despite their inabilities.
That's beautiful. Thank you
Right.
for sharing that. That was great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, that was
You see,
great.
I got all excited. I'm more excited about this than teaching about nursing, which I've been doing for, a long, I've been a nurse for 43 years in June.
Wow.
So I am very passionate about this. And I thank God for allowing my path to cross Georgia GCO, because I don't know the new name fully, but it's been a blessing and blessing to many, because I know that I have served over 1,000 people.
Well, thank you for I mean, it's a big deal to take up and say, hey, I will teach this class and I will commit my personal time to this and make sure that other people are both, and just having the passion to love people enough to want to give back in that way is such an awesome thing. So there are not enough people like you in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. And my son got trained with the
That's
fatherhood.
awesome.
He sure did. Yeah. He didn't
That's
get to
beautiful.
do it much, but it's going to happen. It's in his tool belt. It's coming.
That's great.
All right. Thanks for everything. I'm going to
Thank
hold
you.
on.
Thank you for joining us. If you know of people making a difference in their community, we want to hear about them. Send us a message on Facebook at GA Opportunity. And don't forget to like us while you're there. The Breakthrough Podcast is a production of the Georgia Center for Opportunity. You can find out all the work that we do to help break down the barriers leading to poverty at georgiaopportunity.org.